Hi, thanks for joining me. It's Christine Crutcher from Create with Christine, and I'm here with another Tuesday tip video tutorial for you. This week I am featuring the Timeless Tulips bundle. This is a stamp set. It has a coordinating punch that I will be using. Here's the look at the punch. So our bundles are a great value and a great investment because you save 10% when you buy both the stamp set and the coordinating punch. So I wanted to point that out. This is the card we're going to stamp today. So let's go ahead and get started because there's quite a bit of stamping. So I am going to start, I'm going to bring over some scrap paper to protect my surface. I'm going to do let me punch out the tulip first. So I have pieces going everywhere. I have a very large scrap. This is the Peaceful Poppies Designer Series paper. So I just put the purple polka dot side in, and I'm going to get a tulip, a petal, and I want another petal. In my sample, I've got kind of like 5 petals going on, but my punch only gives me 3, so I need to punch out 2 more. The tricky part is one needs to be going the opposite direction, so I need to use the opposite side of the paper. You can see how I did this one earlier. So what I really want to do is try to not waste so much of my beautiful paper, but I'm just going to put it in next to it where I did the other one earlier and get rid of the scrap. Okay, so I end up getting 2 petals and one big flower punch. And now I'm going to come over and do the stamp and the leaf, and I'm going to stamp that in Old Olive. So I've got my Old Olive ink pad. I have my scrap paper because, of course, my stem is really long and it's going to go off the page. And I want to be strategic. I want the petals to kind of be up here. So I don't obviously want to stamp on that, so don't want that in the way, but I just eyeballed it where I want my stem. So that looks good. And then on my sample I did 2 leaves. And what I found was this now I can use as a guide. So I'm going to put, that's why I punched before I stamped. Put that as a guide, and I found with this stamp there's kind of a flatter side and a kind of like hump side, and I found that I liked the flatter side towards the bottom of the leaf. So just turn, you can turn and kind of get it the way you want it. This is going to be a pretty tight fit to get it all on the paper, but I did manage to do it. And then I'm just going to come to the other side. Because they're photopolymer, I can see right where I'm going. So that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to stamp the Get Well Soon in Rich Razzleberry. So I got the colors that I'm using right from the designer paper, Old Olive and Rich Razzleberry. But you'll notice this stamp goes across, and I want it to go, I'm going to cut it apart, so I want it to, well, I want it to look like this, so all the words are cut apart. It reminds me of one of those magnet puzzles that like you put on the refrigerator. I haven't seen one of those in a while. So I'm just going to take my paper snips, and there's probably an easier way to do this, but I just cut all 3 words apart and then trimmed each one Alternatively, you could cut only 2 of them apart and or cut one apart. You could have fun with this and kind of make your own. I'm going to get this out of the way so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I've got the get in the well to cut apart. So, because the G is longer, the get ends up being a little bit longer. And you could kind of sort of more fussy cut and go around. I'm just cutting them into rectangles and squares. So I'll show you a couple different ideas. You can be pretty fun with this. Okay, then I got these 2 pieces as well. So I can actually start gluing my pieces down. I'm just going to take a little bit of snail on the tulip. And then these, what you'll find is this one should, you kind of have to figure out how they go. That one is this side. And then this one. Just look for, they'll line up almost identical, but I want them to come up out a little bit. So you could have a kind of wider flower. You could almost have only 3 and put these on top of each other, but I kind of like it a little bit out, so there's kind of like 5 petals. So once I think I have these the way I want them, I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue on these. That way I have time to kind of like move them around a hair. So I'm just going to, I did not press down, I just threw it on there. So then I'll have a minute to kind of sort of like get them in place. So that looks good. That one's overlapping slightly. Okay, and then, well, this is kind of fun. I was playing around with this. You could put the get over there, well, soon. You could, I have them all on top of each other. You could perhaps do like a get well and a soon underneath, like that. I just kind of justified them all kind of like down. And this one overlaps a tad. It did not in my sample, but that's okay. I'm just going to throw these on with a little tiny bit of liquid glue. This is a great tip because you can do this with any of your sentiments. I might be able to get it so it doesn't overlap with the leaf. Let's see. If I kind of go over to the right a little bit, or overlap a little here. Oh, it barely touches it. So that looks good. The Whisper White piece is 2.5 by 3 3/4, and then I have a Rich Razzleberry piece that is 2 3/4 by 4 to adhere this onto. This is a little bit of a busy, it's going to have a busy background because I used a piece of designer paper that's 3 3/4 by 5 for the background. And you could add vellum. It is pretty busy, and it's pretty busy for me, but I think it works. I have a Rich Razzleberry card base, and then here's my layer that's 3 3/4 by 5. Oops, I have a scrap stuck on there. It's fine, but I can scoop it out of there. So I'm kind of mixing. I hope it's okay to mix the poppies and the tulips. I think it works. So see, you could layer a piece of vellum if that was really too busy for you. We're just going to layer this up so we see some of the pretty background. And then I added their Peaceful Poppies sequins, and I did add 3 on in my original. I put 1 towards the top and 2 towards the bottom. And you can use mini glue dots, you can use, so I put 2 and 1. One of my tips with these things have, I think, something like 700. I wonder if it says 750. So what I like to do is try to sprinkle a few in the lid, and see, I already have a whole bunch on my fingers. And then what ends up happening is, because it's kind of dry, because it's winter time, they just like static go everywhere. So you got to be kind of careful with these guys. I'm going to use glue dots because the larger ones do fit on glue dots. So you can take your pick tool, grab it, and grab with the putty end, and then you can pull it right onto the glue dot. So I'm using 3 gold. And sometimes you might see a little part of the glue dot poke through, and I try to just press that in with my finger. Whoops, I think I've got 2 right there. See, these little guys go everywhere. Whoops. Okay. Try to get them back in the lid so I can get them. Oh, I'll deal with that after. So, get on my project. I was thinking that I would do it differently and put, now I'm going to use the other side. This sucker's really sharp, so just be careful to get it off of there. I was thinking I would go up top. Whoops. Instead of having them all at the bottom. So I think I can fix that later. Or put 2 there. That'll fix that problem. Just cover up your mistake. So there you go. Let me know, what do you like better? 1 at the top, 2 at the bottom, or kind of 2 at the top, or all of them at the top. So that is my project for this week. I hope you'll check out the Timeless Tulips bundle. Leave me a comment by Monday, March 2nd for a chance to win this card in the mail from me for tuning in this week. Thanks so much. I'll be back next week with another project to share.